my question is, the way you describe the federal criminal law seems to be very, I admire that vision of it, right, that we only want to sort of go after things that harm others. But it seems like in practice what Congress does is create incredibly broad laws that reach a lot of conduct that many of us would think of as innocent, and then effectively, so thinking, for instance, in the context of some of the perjury and false statement of the...
Which one? Well, I mean, yes, there are laws that we pass that shouldn't be on the books, and there are things that should be civil and not criminal. On the other hand, I will tell you this. As a whole, I think we have criminally prosecuted too little financial and white-collar crime rather than too much. I think that, yes, there are some cases of that, but I do think that, and there are laws on the books that are rarely used, but you'd have to give me examples. I agree that perjury in what sense should it not be criminal?
The specific point I was hoping to sort of ask you about, though, is it seems like a function of a lot of these laws, and whether you agree with that point, let's just say the function of the marijuana law, is to give prosecutors a tool in their arsenal to go after groups that are involved in some really bad things, where that's often, just having spoken to friends in the U.S. Attorney's Office, it seems like the group is doing a particular kind of crime, so they keep a marijuana or a conspiracy statute related to it as a way of getting at some really bad things.
Historically,
giving them that tool to have in their arsenal and to trust that they'll exercise it wisely, which is what we so often do.
Well, true, but the answer is don't have law, and that's inevitable. I will tell you what I think. Ron might know. What law is most often used in that way to go after bad people? The income tax law. I think most often going after people because they probably have, it's like Al Capone is the classic case, who was prosecuted on income tax evasion and other factors. So the answer is, I guess I would put it this way. I agree with you in part. I agree that is the motivation of prosecutors. They pick and choose. I do not believe that members of the legislative bodies, and I can tell you this, I've been in one for nearly 40 years, that is not on their minds. In some ways, it's almost too sophisticated an approach. Okay, let's make this kind of activity illegal because there might be some people we don't like. I think the legislative bodies tend to act more emotively than that. So I would agree with you that it is putting, and that's a good reason for the legislature to diminish those things, so you don't put that in the hands of the prosecutors. But I don't think that's the motive for the passage.
Thank you very much, Representative Frank. You stated that while you're in favor of legalizing marijuana, you're also in favor of using educational campaigns to raise about marijuana and to discourage people from using it.
No, I was talking about that with cigarettes. I was saying if you thought marijuana smoking was a terrible, for those who think it's a plague, would be of it, but the public campaign about tobacco, saying that again, if you were rationally trying to diminish use, you would do what the society has done with regard to cigarette smoking, which has had a substantial reductive effect rather than a criminal prosecution.
And do you think it's the government's role, maybe not to completely outlaw marijuana, but to discourage people from using such sort of demerit goods?
Age limit. An obvious negative health effect, no. I am not in charge of whether or not people act stupid. And waste their time. And many people, much of the time, do things that I think are a waste of time. That's a great freedom to waste your time. I think there ought to be a campaign against excess, and you campaign against alcoholism. And that's legal. I would say yes. Let's have a public health campaign of abuse. And I want to smoke that are equivalent to the negatives of inhaling tobacco. Now, maybe if people inhaled as much marijuana as they inhale tobacco, have that negative effect as people. I don't think people inhale as much marijuana as they inhale tobacco. They would forget. But I treat cigarettes as an exception. But again, I wasn't advocating that. I was saying that's the model. If you think there's a serious public health problem, make it, and it's a purely voluntary activity. Well, I'll give you some others. Anorexia, bulimia, those are public health problems. It's a good idea to try to diminish them in various ways, but making them illegal wouldn't make sense.